get going, I am going to introduce John Min, who will be our next speaker. John is a multi-talented gymnastics coach, club owner, former coach, and technology whiz, who also hosts Facebook's popular Coaches on Coaches forum. John has coached pretty much at all levels of gymnastics, including elite athletes, presenting at camps and congresses for USAG. John is also involved in the yoga program, TOPS, in the martial arts program, and in sports video and media. So John, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can take it away.
Hello, everyone. This is John Min. Hopefully everyone can hear me. You can just raise your hands. Everything's good. All right. You said the technical thing, so I think that's going to bite me in the butt a little bit. I am having a little bit of a technical glitch. I think it's because I've been trying to download too many videos to Dropbox. Also, as a spectator, it's a little bit different than as when I'm the Zoom host. When I'm the Zoom host, I have a lot more features, a lot more control. Unfortunately, I don't have as many features. Just to let you know,
excuse me 1 second, Marcy, would it help if you made John a co-host?
Oh.
Would that help?
Yeah.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah, could you?
Go ahead and do that now, and
yes,
we'll
please.
see if that gives you what you need.
Yes, because that would make life easier.
There you go.
All
you
right.
should have more options now.
Hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, you know, don't worry. I still have plenty of material.
You're a co-host now, John, so hopefully
okay.
You have what you need there.
I still seem a little limited. Oh, well, let's start. Okay. If you can see me, I'm going to now switch to a different screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation. In addition to that, I have videos of my athletes. I actually like to video a lot, as they said before. I actually have over 10,000 video clips.
I want you to yell it out loud. You don't know your mics yet, though.
I hear someone else. Oh. So I did pick some select videos for the lecture. Okay, we are now going to switch. Just make sure everyone can see this. All right, so everyone can see that pretty good? Yes? All right, I'll just assume everyone can see it. If not, let me know. Welcome, my name is John Min. I'm the owner and head coach of Magma Gymnastics in Bridgewater and Phillipsburg. I've been very close and dear to my heart with vault. I actually spent a large portion of my coaching career on vault. I was the level 4-8 developmental coach at Parkettes on vault for almost 12, 13 years. So I've done a lot of vault. Let's see if I can move to the next screen. Okay, so this is one of the athletes that I coached as she was developing her vault. That is Elizabeth Price. As you know, she was one of the top vaulters in the nation, competing in Aminar, placed 4th at the Olympic trials, and was an Olympic alternate in 2012. Today at the Region 7 Xcelebration, I'm going to be discussing vault drills, preparation, and development for bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. As you know, that's a wide range of levels. So instead of hitting specific vaults, like the Yurchenko, the Sukahara, the Kazamatsu, the half-half, I'm going to discuss the principles I feel are important to developing strong overall vaulting. I don't know if I'll have time for everything, I apologize, but I will try to go as quickly as I can. I'll be discussing running, body shaping and tension, hurdling and punching, blocking and landing, then a quick section on twisting and rotating vault drills that you can actually start now, even with your bronze and silver athletes. You can really break it down. And then, of course, a little bit on the Olympic vaults, and, of course, final words. Let's switch that to the next video. It should be an easier way to do this, but... So, as you can see, I assume most of you are experienced with the vault development of your athletes. As you can see at the bronze level, they have a couple of different choices. They can also use supplemental springboards or instruments to vault. For your lighter, younger athletes, I do highly recommend that, or at least do a lot of your training with those devices. Your goal is the handstand flat back, which is kind of like the lower level compulsory in JOs. The handstand flat back is a good introduction vault and preparation. At the silver level, of course, you'll move on to the handspring over the soft mats or the quarter or the half on, which is once again a great preparation vault. Then at the gold, platinum, and diamond, we have certain restricted vaults that we follow through. Sorry, my PowerPoint's not working. Okay, so once again, this is the vault chart. As you develop towards your gold, platinum, diamond athletes, you have a variety of vaults. As you can see, the handspring front is now removed. It is an illegal vault, so I will not be discussing any concepts for that. And then as you can see, for rotating vaults, like the Sukahara and the Yurchenko, that is limited basically to diamonds. So I'm not going to spend a large amount of time on the rotating and flipping vaults. If any of you did attend the Region 7 Level 8-10 camp, they spent a whole lecture on the Yurchenko. And honestly, you could spend an entire multiple series of lectures on the Yurchenko, the Sukahara, and the various vaults. So we're going to go over on the general concepts. Moving along. All right. So a quick fact, I like to do this in my spare time because I have way too much spare time. Personally, I believe great floor makes great vault, and great vault is great floor. So what I did is I broke down all the Olympics. I took it out of order, want to show it to you first. I broke down all the Olympic vault and floor champions. And as you can see, there is an incredibly high correlation. Like Simone Biles, gold in vault and floor. Sandra Esbaza, she got gold in vault in 2012, gold in floor in 2008. You can go down the list and see that strong floor tumblers are strong vaulters. There are a few exceptions like Hong Wen-jung, but she's a vault specialist. So who knows what she would have done if she was doing floor too. She specializes in just vault. But in general, strong floor is strong vault. So a lot of my lecture is going to be on developing floor to become strong on vault. So I'm going to now move to the next section. Okay, so running drills. Now, I did videotape a lot of these things, but like I said, I'm having a little issue with Dropbox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show it to you on my one screen onto your screen. So I do apologize if there's glare. One of the biggest pet peeves I've had in coaching vault is that many times our athletes don't know how to run. If you think about it, there's no running on bars and beams. So literally their entire half of all their events, the coaches aren't really going to concern themselves. On floor, we limit their run, okay? And it's usually a run to a hurdle or some kind of tumbling pass. So once again, please make sure everyone is mute because we are getting some feedback. Once again, I feel that running is one of the main aspects of vault that is kind of ignored. And we really want to develop that. As you can see here, these are my athletes at a track and field, and we are doing running drills. We do sprints, we do tons of different drills like the high knees and the butt kickers. Now, think about your vault or your gym. You do have a vault runway, so you have a certain amount of distance where you can do running drills. But then again, if your vault runway is the maximum distance of your vault, you can never exceed your running distance past that. So you're kind of limited to a finite amount of room. It's kind of like a fish in a tank. A fish will only grow, most times, as big as their tank. So if you're not giving your athletes the opportunity to expand their run and develop their run, you're limiting them like in a goldfish tank. So we do a lot of running drills outdoors, especially during the coronavirus. We actually were outdoors every day. But we do try to hit outdoors, especially in the summer season and in the preseason. And we do a lot of running drills. What I find interesting too is, if some of you don't know or might know, is that when your athlete runs around a track, the quarter mile, the time that it takes them to run around a quarter mile is approximately the length of a diamond floor routine. So that's a little bit of an interesting fact that I use. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to discuss some of the running drills. Once again, I do apologize that my Dropbox video didn't work. What I probably will do is I will probably post the videos for you to watch. I'm going to just try showing some on here in a little bit. And you tell me if the video is really horrible or not. So like, can you guys see that? Can you guys see that? All right, so we do lots of different types of running drills. Of course, this is a sled run, as some of you are familiar with. I'm going to go back to my video content now. All right. So obviously, developing run should be methodical. You should know where your athletes are starting. You should know the distance that they're running. You should also give them a goal or a finish point. Too many times they're like, just run down the runway, okay? I like to have points. You can also mark the runway. I've seen gyms where they actually mark the runway on intervals, 6 feet intervals, 5 feet intervals. So developing high knees, heel kicks, heel drives, or we call butt kickers, one leg runs, one leg hops, one leg pumps, one leg tuck jumps, deer runs, power walk, sprints, using a speed ladder. I love using speed ladders. Using blocks or even small hurdles to develop running. Resistance running, like you saw with the bungees and stuff. Parachute running, partner running, and then having fun with it. Timing your runs, challenging your runs, and developing those things. Oh, yes, obviously. Someone did mention that if you are running outdoors, please make sure you're wearing the proper footwear, running sneakers, padded socks, and of course, I prefer track because it's a more forgiving surface. I still remember I had one girl come to one of our running practices with flip-flops. I'm not joking. I said, why would you bring flip-flops to running practice? And she actually said, well, I don't bring sneakers to the gym. So please make sure your athletes know that. So a lot of times people will also hire a running coach. I won't lie, I think there is merit to that, but keep in mind running coaches, if they don't have a gymnastics experience, they are going to develop the athletes more for what we call the lateral sprint. Because if you think about it, sprinters don't run and then hurdle and then punch. So there is going to be a little bit of a difference in the running mechanics and stuff. We did some time sprints at Magma last week. And I can honestly tell you, there is a direct correlation between my stronger vaulters and my stronger runners, okay? Unless there's a fear issue, lots of times your fastest runners will be your strongest vaulters. And your weaker runners will be your weaker vaulters. And that's just basic physics. You know, force equals mass times acceleration. The amount of mass and acceleration on hitting the board will develop strong runs. All right, we're gonna move along. And once again, I will try to post the videos later rather than try to show my screen. Okay, body shaping and tension drills. Once again, this is one of my biggest areas of working on vault. I've seen too many times where girls just collapse on the table. They don't know how to block properly. They don't know how to stay tight properly. They don't know about shoulder extension, about keeping their back or their core tight. I'm going to actually show you a video for all this, but we do lots of drills on tumble track, trampoline, air tracks. I love air equipment. I'm just really curious quickly, how many of you actually use air pads, air mats, tumble track, you know, trainers? Anyone? I love air mats, okay? Because what's nice about them is if you're using a springboard, the weight of the athlete is going to be a direct effect. It really is. You can't put 8 springs in for a 40-pound athlete. You can't. Air mats can be a little more forgiving because they do rebound and are based a lot more on the pressure of the athlete. So air tracks are, in my humble opinion, an essential tool for gyms. And they're more forgiving on the wrists, the ankles. I mean, how many times have you had athletes? They got to wear the tiger paws. They got to wear the knee brace. They got to wear the ankle brace. So once again, I'm a strong proponent of encouraging smart gymnastics, safe gymnastics, making it safe for the athletes. So I'm just going to show you a couple of videos where we do a circuit where we're doing the the tension drills, we're doing some of the running drills, and we're introducing some other basic concepts. And this is a circuit that they do around the vault area. I'm not even on the floor, okay? But I will go to the floor a little bit later. So once again, please bear with me as I get the video. I do apologize. So as you can see here, they're doing the grasshoppers, okay? Or the push-up hops. And once again, you can see some of them are a little bit pikey, some of them are a little bit archy, and these are all Xcel athletes, okay? I did not pick my level 10, 9 athletes. These are Xcel athletes. And then you can see on the way back, they're doing the running drills, okay? They're doing the high knees, the butt kickers, just staying tight. And this is strong development. Now, come over here, look at this. Now we're doing, okay, these are the Superman drops and other drops. They're doing that push-up drop. They're dropping to their stomach, trying to stay tight and going back to the push-up position. Now, those will get more advanced, of course. I'm going to show another one. So, a little more advanced. So now that we see that the athletes can maintain tension and pressure, okay? And once again, that is key because the amount of contact on a vault table has to be instantaneous and it has to have explosivity. So once again, here's another circuit. So now you can see that's kind of doing the same thing in the push-up hops, but as you can see, we're now doing the handstand pops. And that's pretty good. And she's a good vaulter. You can see that girl, shoulder angle, head coming out. I'll be honest, do you even need to see her vault? You know what her vault's going to be like. So having her go over the table 100 times is not going to fix that, okay? And now we're adding like a front tuck at the end for landing. We did the one-legged runs. Now here's some simple, I like rotation drills. This is for back tumbling and for back vaulting. Once again, you can introduce this. You know, these are not high-level athletes, as you can see, okay? You know, we're talking about silver, gold athletes. That's a little introduction to some turning drills. So creating that kind of body tension and working on that, working on just holding handstands, working on shoulder shrugs, working on blocking drills. Those are really going to be key. I'm going to show you another blocking drill that I like. This would be so much easier if I could just access things. But here's another blocking drill that I like. I've got to play that again, so it's a little fast. So here's a really good block. And you can see I'm using the air mats. So you can see that she's blocking from one air mat to the next air mat to the paddle mat. And she's traveling. And a vault has to travel, okay? There's a rise and a travel, okay? I don't know if any of you coaches have ever done like front layouts and front tucks over tables, but that's a great drill for rising and getting the heel drives over. Obviously, you start with no table. You can go into a pit, mats, soft stuff like that. We want to break it up because remember, our athletes are young. So here's a couple of drills where we're working on that same thing, the blocking, the tension, and the heel drives with some very low-level athletes. Okay, let me just pull up the video. Okay, so once again, we're going to now start working on the punching aspect of the vaults, and these are bronze level athletes, and they range kind of like from 5 to 8. Okay, and we're just doing some. You see, I'm using the air mats, and we're just working on getting the run, getting the circle, and then they're just quartering off, doing a nice simple cartwheel. As you can see, I have the air track sideways, so I have 4 stations. Now, obviously, if you're on vault, you don't have floor time, you might be limited. But that's 4 stations going simultaneously. Now, you saw what they did. They rebounded, they landed, they did the cartwheel. Now we're actually connecting it. And once again, you know, we're talking about the youngest and the lowest level athletes doing this, all right? This is not difficult. You can have your bronze 4, and what are they doing? They're basically quartering off, okay? And they're using an air track. Now, I call this, it's one of my terminologies. I call this a cart off, all right? I like to actually teach a cartwheel entry and then a quarter off. And I do that because I don't like the round offs that come over the side. And you can put up mats too, you get a U mat, but that takes a lot more work. So I do a cart off variation. And you can see that they're doing the round off vault. Okay? They're using the air mat. Sorry for the blurriness. They're driving their heels and they're doing basically a quarter on vault. And that's your silver vault. So my bronze athletes are already doing the silver vault. And that's without a mini tramp, without a springboard, you know, lower of course, but working on that shaping and that tension. I see my time is going a little faster, so I'm going to move a little quicker.
John, while you're transitioning there as well, we seem to be getting some background noise from your gym. I don't know if there's a door that we can close or anything like that.
I do have my headphones on, but let me turn off the air conditioning.
Well, we're hearing, I think, Doc Alley from the gymnast session.
Does that sound better?
We're seem to be getting, I think it's Doc Alley from the gymnast session that we're hearing.
Oh, no, you can actually hear her?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, because I thought with the headphones you wouldn't hear her. Yeah, she's speaking on the other side of the gym. I do apologize.
Okay, I didn't know if there was anything to, like a door to shut or anything like that.
No, unfortunately, I don't have any doors in my gym. I suppose I could go into the office, but it's kind of creepy there.
No, let's just continue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Get used to it. It's okay.
Yeah, because it's still being built. I just bought the gym last month, and they didn't have an office. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So we did those body shape tension drills, the hops. The Broncos are a heel drive one. I'll show that in a little bit. I'm sorry if you don't know some of these terminologies. The handstand pops, the Supermans, flick flocks, which I love, back handspring hops, handstands with blocking and the bouncing in the quarter, halves, three-quarters, fulls, trampoline drops and everything, and of course board bounces where you hold the athlete on the shoulders. But we don't really do that in Corona age, and you have them bounce multiple times on their feet, and then of course on their hands in a handstand position, and then you're bouncing them multiple times in the handstand position. Okay. Okay, so once again, hurdling and punching drills, and that's what the videos were that you watched earlier. I use the air mats, I use trampolines, I use mini tramps, I use trainers. Then, when they're showing good technique, good body position, do I move to springboards? And then I actually make it more difficult for my stronger athletes. And we'll use panel mats and blocks, okay, in addition to spring floor, rod floor, and foam floors to work on the hurdling, the punching, and the time. And of course, good front tumbling is really quintessential to good vaulting. Your athlete should have good, strong front tucks, front pikes, front legs. I do teach that with all my beginner athletes. And once again, you can dumb it down. You can go to their back. You don't have to land on their feet. The landing is actually, in many ways, the most dangerous aspect of vaulting, okay? Most athletes don't get hurt blocking or flipping. They get hurt landing. One of the saddest things I had was that when I was actually working at the World Championships, Reagan Smith and Kohei Uchimura, both of them who were in the lead and the favorites, both got injured just on one. On one. They both got injured and had to pull out of the meet. So don't rush landings. When I was a gymnast myself, very low level, I got hurt on my landing. You know, I unfortunately rolled my ankle on a front tuck. So please, with your younger athletes, make sure they know the correct body positioning on the landing. Make sure they know what to spot on the landing. I do feel too many times, especially with our more beginner coaches and other coaches, that they don't spend as much time on landing and, in my opinion, rolling and safety fall. I spend an exorbitant amount of time on landing and safety. Trampoline safety drops, safety rolls. It's probably because of my background. I have a background also in Hapkido and Jiu-Jitsu. So learning how to properly fall is quintessential. You know, we actually fell on hard floors, and I can still fall on concrete with no problem and never get injured. But in gymnastics, I got hurt on an 8-inch mat. So explain that. So please, please work on that. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead now to the next photo. So once again, blocking and landing drills, which is of course what we talked into. Make sure you develop the proper tension and pressure. Look for shoulder extension, flexibility, and strength. Almost all of our vaults need that shoulder extension and that block. Core and back strength. Too many times I've seen athletes who just kind of flop over. I call something that I call personally, I call it a signal light process. I have what we call red light, yellow light, green light, like in traffic. Red light are drills that have very little motion. They're more stability drills, holding drills, tension drills. Yellow light are drills with some motion. And then, of course, green light are drills where you do faster to simulate the actual skill. Give you an example. If a car is at a red light and hits you, it's not going to hurt you because it's not moving. If the car is at a yellow light and it starts to go and hit you, you can get somewhat hurt. And of course, if a car is going at full speed, it can get hurt. Speed and height are your most dangerous tools. Okay, they're also the things you need to develop. But for younger athletes, especially Xcel athletes who are not in the gym as often or are not doing as much conditioning, you have to be different. So you have to be very careful when you're mixing your static and dynamic drills. And once again, I really do stress how important it is to develop front and back tumbling. Okay, hold on, I gotta exit out of this. All right, so I'm gonna show a couple more videos to show you some drills, and these are drills and videos that you've seen me discussing. Okay, so once again, I like developing front tumbling as a strong precursor to vault. So I'm going to show you some front tumbling. So here we have, these are some body tension drills, okay? So this would be like yellow light. Red light would just be holding it between the mats, and you can see. Now, obviously, you don't do this with your weaker athletes. You would actually have the mat flat. There would not be space in between. Then you would gradually open the space, gradually open it as your athletes got better and better and better. And then I've had athletes who can go from shoulders to heels and literally just stay tight. And can you imagine the vault on that? Then as I progress, I go more towards my faster drills. And I'm a big fan of bounders, or fly springs as we call them. And if you think about it, they're putting their hands on that exact same mat where they did the flat back. And now they're learning to drive their heels. They're learning to rotate over, getting some lift, but also getting some length. Remember, the table is not the old horse, okay? It's long. It's wide, which is forgiving, but it's also long. They need to be able to travel. Okay? Then we add something at the end. We make it a little more fun. Okay. And once again, you can do this on tumble track. As you can see, our tumble tracks are next to our vault tables. Personally, I think tumble track should be next to vault tables. I've been to a few gyms where they're not. I've never really quite got that in the design. But at both gyms, this is my Bridgewater location. At the other gym in Twilight, we also have it next to each other. And then as they get better, we progress even to more skills. Okay, and you can see some of these athletes are not the strongest vaulters. They're still kind of developing. You know, she wasn't too sure what's going on. And obviously we would work more tension drills, more heel drive drills. And this is fun. This is fun and it's not scary. Okay. And what we can do is then the red and blue blocks, we can double the height. And we can actually make them go higher and bounder up higher, faster. And then with the layout, you raise the mats. So you're increasing their height, you're increasing their rotation, and you're increasing their speed without even going over table. I'll be honest, I think another huge mistake is introducing the table too early. I honestly believe it. In addition to being a JO coach, Xcel coach, you know, I was in the pre-elite program, developing elites, and we would go to tops and hopes. And I was a judge too. I judged vaults. And there were some girls, I'll be honest, they should not have been vaulting. And you develop these bad habits and you develop these psychological blocks. And then vault literally kind of ends up becoming one of the things that kind of destroys their career, you know, and we want to avoid that. Okay, I'm going to move around. Okay. So twisting and rotating drills, okay? You can introduce twisting and rotation drills so early. You can do this with class kids even, all right? But you have to know how to break it down. Introduce young, make it simple, stupid. I'm not calling anyone stupid. I'm just saying make the drills simple and stupid. Start with halves and quarters. Focus on back and stomach. Don't focus on landing. Once again, landing is the Achilles heel. You can get hurt. Soft mats and trampoline. Once again, speed and height are your nemesis in the beginning, and they're your friends later on. Isolate the drills for turning, twisting, and flipping from the hips or the center of mass. We don't want people twisting off their feet. We don't want people twisting from their head and their shoulders. Take your time and build in steps. So I'm going to show you a couple of really simple twisting and turning drills. So this is where we introduce the barrel, and then we start introducing the simple concept. You can do that without the barrel. You can do a handstand flat and have your athletes twist. It's not a hard concept at all, okay?
John, we've got about 5 minutes left for you, just so you know.
No problem. Here's another isolation drill. And once again, when we do some of these simpler drills for your younger athletes, the quality will not be there, okay? I have something called an SPQR model that I use for gymnastics. It's taken from the old Roman term. Safety, progression, quality, repetition. The quality comes later with your newer athletes, okay? Lots of times, I still remember when an elite coach would come in, they'd always expect the kids to look like elite athletes. And it's not going to happen. So this is a very simple, safe drill to teach athletes to rotate. And also you get to test their core strength. So they're hanging on the bar, you have mats underneath, and she just holds her core strength. She just holds it. And then she puts her hands down on a soft mat, very soft mat, and she rotates over. And as you can see that's a back rotation drill. A little bit more advanced drill. Now the block can be a little closer. Usually I have 2 blocks open, but you can see that action. She's blocking through her shoulders. She can be a little more vertical. And she's getting a backward rotating vault. And this, of course, would be more advanced for Wojtczuk. Yeah, the body shape should be a little higher and nicer. Once again, very simple. She can scoop the legs over. Okay. So those are some really simple, basic drills. Let me show you another one. Okay, so once again, using more of a red light drill, slow it down. I really like this one because she can really feel herself just pushing, maintaining tension throughout the slide. Hips are opening, the shoulders are opening as we're coming out of the vault. Stay tight. And then she would just half turn, okay? And then quarter, half, and then you can do, full. Very simple drill. Okay. I have a couple of more. Can't show them all, but here's a more advanced. This drill I find you can do very well if you can do a flick flop. Now, what's a flick flop? I call it, because it's basically, it's my terminology of on tramp, where you do the bounder, back handspring, bounder, back handspring. All right, do you guys know that? Okay, and you connect it. And if you do that properly, what you're learning to do is you're learning to block through your shoulders, and you're learning to flip off your feet back and forth. So when athletes get really good at that, they really understand the concept of lifting their hips. Here's a simple drill, but not simple if you've never done it. To start working on the back handsprings for your Wojtczuks. Okay, if your athlete's never done that, that's not easy. Okay, because they'll stall out. They don't understand about the hip lift and the rotation. And then from that, they would go right back to a bounder. And they would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Here's some more drills for staying tight, for front tumbling. I'm using a panel mat. I'm using the air mats to create tension. So you can see we just did rebounding drills and we did flipping drills. So nice and simple, see? And guess what? You're working your tumbling too. Yes, you're working both. I will try to post all these. Here's a little more advanced drill. I like this one. This is a tabletop soup timer where you're coming off the table, snapping, lifting the chest up. Obviously, there are lead ups to that with the what I call the snap lift drills, which I have a lot of also. I do apologize that I kind of rushed and I was a little bit all over the place. Fortunately, I was not able to use my PowerPoint directly, and the videos were all embedded in the PowerPoint. It was a beautiful presentation, and I spent a lot of time making it, so I'm a little annoyed it's not there, but I'm going to try to post it on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel where I try to post all my Coaches on Couches episode, lectures and clinics, and I'll try to post that too. But once again, thank you so much. And like I said, I have over 10,000 videos of my athletes doing stuff. So the vault lecture one has 88. So you did not see all 88. So once again, thank you so much. I had a wonderful time. Thank you to Region 7. Thank you, Jane and Jen and everyone else. Have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to listen to the next lecture. Bye.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. That was a great, lots of great drills in there. We are going to move on, and I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to John Wojtczuk. John, if you can unmute yourself, you will be our next speaker.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, I just want to interrupt. I just want to interrupt for 1 second. If people have questions for John Min, I see he's still there. He'll probably hang out for a bit. So if you have questions, you can continue to use the chat room and John can correspond with you. Hey, John, welcome. Go ahead, Marcy.
How's everything?
We're going to introduce John, who is our next speaker. John has been coaching since the 70s and is currently with the Eastern National Academy. He has been both our Region 7 chair as well as our national co-chair. He's also coached at all, including many trips to elite competitions and JO Nationals. He's also been a speaker and clinician at many regional and national camps and congresses. So, John, go ahead and take it away.
I just want to, I don't want to, like, if they like talk about anything.
Let me mute.
Am I good?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right. Hi, everybody. Very quickly, as I was getting the information for this, we are going to specifically just talk about back and front acro, which is, in this case, somersaults. Occasionally you'll hear me call salto, flip, whatever your terminology is. It's in the air. Okay, so the main things I'd like to try to do, and let's hope this works, because okay, I want to go share. And I am not showing my screen.
Yes, you are. We are seeing your screen right now. It says Zoom on the screen right now.
I don't see my desktop. That's the problem.
John, you have to X out of the Zoom background and it'll come up.
Oh, close the Zoom?
Not
Yes.
the Zoom session, just that back. X out and see what it tells you.
Host attendee? X out?
No. All the way to the right, the X.
That X.
Yeah, click that and see if it says, do you want to leave? If it does, we don't want to be there. Go ahead.
Am I still here?
Now we're there. We have your screen.
Oh, good. Okay. So anyway, I apologize. My technical expertise is somewhat lacking. John's is a lot better than mine, but let's start right away. So one of the things, we're going to go over standing back tucks and backward somersaults first. The one thing I think is critical, and I like to go over before we do anything else. Hang on, let me stop this before it gets going. Okay, we're gonna, oh, there's pause. Okay. I'm a little bit old school. As Marcy said, I learned to tumble back in the 70s. Okay. I learned to tumble on a horsehair mat. I am not kidding you. Okay. And those of you who don't know what it is, it's actually comb cotton, but it's nothing like what we have now. So a lot of these drills come from there, but they are very much useful now. If you want to go old school, this is the way to do it. but they do help quite a bit. One of the things I think we miss nowadays, especially in some of the compulsories, backward roll. And I'm going to talk about back somersault in particular, a backward tucked roll. I'm amazed at how many kids only can do an overlow and they have no idea how to bend their arms to do a roll. Now, the question is, why am I bending my arms? Well, protect the head and the neck for the most part, okay, when you do the roll. But also later on, you're going to be using that position to come down and grab your knees to grab on a somersault. All right, especially for double backs, but that's a more advanced skill. We're not going to worry about that right now. So let's go back. I'm going to show you this at the very beginning. Okay, and standing back tuck. First step, if you notice, it's about the height of her hips, not much higher than that. You can eventually work up to that, but right now I think that's about as high as you need to go with it. So Reagan is going to do jump to a seat drop. Ta-da! So something for trampoline. Next step, jump to her back. There's your back drop on trampoline. And now she's going to backward roll. Okay, now she actually went a little further. Normally what I would do in this case with this drill is I would have a cheese mat after the kid jumps to her seat and to her back, we'll roll down the cheese. Just to save time, we did it like this. But if you notice, when she jumped to like a tucked candlestick. She was on her shoulders. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the kids to learn to rotate from the lower half of the body. One of the common errors with somersaults, and I think we all know this, is kids whipping their head back as they're trying to learn it. Why does that happen? First thing we ever teach them to do is a back handspring. So what do? We teach them to whip their head back. Then we say, okay, do a back somersault. What's the first thing they do? They whip their head back because that's what they've learned. So we need to teach them and get them to understand that we are talking about two different families of skills, the mechanics of which are both different. Okay, this is more like, and as you just saw it, like a backward roll. Okay, it's nothing at all like a back handspring. So this is the easiest progression to start with. Okay, you can start it standing, you could use a springboard, set it up any dozen of ways, but make sure it's a soft stack and not something hard. Okay, I put the panel mat on it just to make life easier. All right, so let me close this one out, I hope, and go to the next one. Okay, round of back handspring candles. Oh, wait, I don't want the candlestick. That wasn't next. Wait a sec. Straight, oh, no, we're not doing this right. Sorry, folks. Let's try doing it this way. This is not doing what it's supposed to. Hang on a second.
Yeah, it's weird how technology always...
Did you want Marcy to run them?
So
or
my
Marcy,
back
did you
tuck, hang on a second. The problem is with my screen is being blocked by, you know what? I'm going to go Excel back tumbling. I'm just going to run right through it. Let's try this.
John, if you need me to hop in and run anything, let me know.
No, because all you guys are over here. So we're just going to run it this way. So, all right. So this would be the next step after the back tuck. Round of back handspring, straight jump. Okay. You can also put this a little higher and make it a seat drop, but just round of back handspring, straight. Obviously, they should have their steps. Fairly well done round off back handspring. Okay, and they're figuring it out and trying to figure out where their steps are, and some of us still have some trouble. So anyway, next step. Oh, still jumping, I'm sorry. Next step will be the cheese, okay? Here we go. And now they're gonna jump to a candlestick. Now I skipped a step here just again for time, and we're trying to do round of back handspring to a seat drop first, and then to a tuck backward roll. So these guys are starting to work toward a layout, but this is a very simple non-contact drill to get them to do the candlestick. Okay, some of them are sliding. You can tell they're going back a little too far, But every now and then, they get the idea, their hips go up, and they do an overlow. And or maybe not. What was that? That was Avery. She's actually got a good layout. Anyway. So very simple drill here. There we go. That was for the back tuck. Okay, but you got the idea with this drill. Once they get comfortable with it, going up and over. Okay. All right. There was a good one. That was a good one. There's the candlestick. And it really helps them to get the idea of getting the legs to lift and rotate. Also, I can't do a backward roll and throw my head back, can I? There's the seat drop backward roll. There we go. Okay, Reagan, you saw her at the very beginning with the standing back tuck. She's just learning how to do the back tumbling. There we go. Oops, a little too high. I have a lot of these. I'm sorry. I overdid. That's a good one. That's the one we want for a layout. All right, she's getting the idea. Okay, let's go a little further on. Let's speed this up a little bit. Here we go. So now in this case, they're going uphill because they've done this a few more times, but obviously you would have them go down on the floor, all right, and do the lower backhand, rounded back handspring tuck. In this case, these guys are already working toward a higher level, and that's the layout. So I have them do the back tucks here. You can still see on occasion the head go back, so we still got to do more drill work with that. So once or twice a week, I go back to the drills. Okay. Now, one aspect of this that doesn't get covered a lot, and hopefully I have this further on. Okay. This is a drill you can do on trampoline. She's going to a seat drop. Okay, but notice how they're traveling forward. They're learning how to make their hips and legs rotate up and forwards. Now you might, I'm going to ask, why am I going forwards when I want to do a backward somersault? But if you really think of it, that's exactly what happens on a backward somersault. When you start, your hips and legs are rotating in a slightly forward direction, even though you're traveling backwards. And that's what gives you the rotation. All right, so they're getting to the candlesticks. Okay, so some of the back tucks. Let's see, we can get a couple of good ones. So now they're trying to get to a candlestick position for the layout. There we go, good. Okay, I'm sorry for that. That was a little on the quick side, but you have the idea. I'm trying to think, how can I move this? Oh, I can. Ta-da, now I got it. Okay, so you have a good idea of what's going on with that. You've seen the stack, the candlestick rolls, the straight jumps. But one of the main things I think is trying to get the kids to understand how the lower half of the body has to work on the somersault. Okay, if they don't have that understanding and knowledge of the feel of that, they're going to have trouble. You're constantly going to be fighting whipping back. Now, one thing I will do is occasionally I will go with some of the kids as they're learning this, especially if they go to back tuck and you try to go to a back layout. Again, the candlestick drill is great. Some kids still have some trouble with that concept. I will go old school again, and I will teach them a rounded back handspring, back pike somersault. I'll let them learn it on trampoline first. Okay, but now they're learning how to lift their legs into a rotation. If you stop and think, you're going from a tuck position, which is the smallest shape your body's going to have, to a layout, which is the longest position your body's going to have. You need a lot of energy to make that lift and turn over, and it feels very different. That's another reason why kids whip their head back. Okay, they're trying to stretch. They know I got to stretch my body. I got to make it rotate, and that feels like it's going to work. And it does to some extent, but it doesn't give us the body position that we want, especially for later on when we're trying to learn twisting. All right, so back pike. All right, bit by bit, I can open that up. All right, they're doing a 90-degree pike. There we go. All right, and I can open that up from 90 degrees to 120. And 120 goes to 150. 150 goes completely straight. I got a layout. All right, so at the same time, I'm teaching them how to rotate from the hip and the leg. Okay, I'm getting them to rotate as well, you know, from a lifting position and not just leaning back into it. All right, so that gives you a good idea, I think, with the backward tumbling. Marcy, do we have any questions down there from anybody?
There are no questions in the chat room at this time, so I think you can keep on moving. If anybody has any questions, certainly feel free to enter them into the chat room.
Okay, I'm going to go to the front now, and hopefully this will work a little bit better. I apologize, by the way. Here we go, dive rolls. Let's move you over. Okay, so front tumbling. Dive roll. Why a dive roll? Well, you got to punch. You got to get your hips up in the air. And again, what's a front somersault? It's a forward roll done in the air. Again, forward tuck rolls. I don't think we do enough drill work on that. Dive roll is a basic skill in my mind. All right, so we try to get the kids to do that. Let me run through this one more time so you can see it. Oops, sorry. There you go. Okay, so we're using an incline mat. Mat over the top just to level it out a little bit, make it a little stiffer, not too soft. Okay, but trying to get the hips to rotate upward. Now, the interesting thing with this, where kids get caught learning a front somersault, is they know they're supposed to rotate. The very first thing they're going to want to do as they jump is duck their head down a little bit. Partly because, well, we're doing a forward roll. That's what I learned to do. Okay, the interesting thing is ducking the head down actually does work to make you flip. But the problem is you're going downhill. So unless you're going into a pool or something, it ain't going to help you very much. Instead, you have to learn how to punch the hips up. This is where the dive roll, especially up onto a raised surface, comes into play. All right, let's get rid of this now if we can. Let me move you back. All right, so after they get the dive roll down fairly well, they get the lift, they get the rotation, we're going to go and we're going to, you can either do this on on that wedge, okay, or I had to reshoot it because a lot of those kids were having some sort of weird trouble to the other day. They could only do front flips. So these guys are going to show you floor music, sorry. Front flip to a seat. Okay, very short, very easy. There was a tuck to a seat. There we go. She ducked her head a little bit, so she's got to try to come up a little more. That was a better one. All right, let's run that again. Let's show you those. Okay, and if you notice, we're trying to get that jump to come up. I'm going to try something. Hang on a minute. I want to pause this, and I want to go back to that very first one. And I would like you to watch a second as she does this. Okay. Yes, she is punching. Where are her legs going? Oops. Of course, it's not going to come out. Yeah, shoot. Well, let's stay there. Okay, when you're doing a running punch front, and I believe this very strongly, okay, you need to block the floor slightly the same way you would block your feet in front on a springboard to do a handspring vault. And the reason for that is I not only have to try to go up, I also have to try to initiate rotation. I need to do both. So in this case, the feet are coming in front slightly. By the time she punches and leaves the floor, she is going up straight. But now she's got the lift and the lower half of the body is picking up some rotation. Think of it almost like you're tripping, okay? But you're tripping uphill and not tripping downhill into the flip. Let's try that again, and let's run it back faster. Okay. I hope everybody's seeing this okay. Okay. The feet are going to go slightly in front on the punch. There you go. That was a good one. It happens very quickly, but you can see it. Not so much on that one. You see, now that one, let's go back. Wait, hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Come on. Oh, that's a neat trick. Actually, it wasn't that bad. Ah, can you see the legs going in front? Hallelujah. There we go. This is a good one. Hang on a second. All right. But can you see the feet going in front, punching just a little forwards? But not that bad. Actually, she did that better than I thought she did. Okay. But you can see those legs block a little in front. Oh, that was the one that was the bad one. Never mind. Okay, we won't go over that again. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so that hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea. Now, as I said, the feet are going to go front in front of you, blocking like a vault on a running front. So running punch front. It's a little different from a handspring or when you start doing punch front, okay? Again, from my perspective, the front handspring has already given your body rotation, started you flipping. Now your feet need to come directly underneath you to punch you up and into the flip. If that makes sense, hopefully that should make sense. Okay, if your feet are in front of you, you're gonna start to see a sit back and undercut. Kid's going to undercut the front, land on their seat all the time. They'll never make it to their feet. So understand there's a slight difference in the two of those. Front handspring front, feet are going to come directly underneath. But if I'm doing the running punch front, I'm going to have my feet blocked slightly in front of me. Okay? Good. We got the seat. Let's go to the front salto here. All right, here we go. Get you. Okay, here are those guys doing the front tucks up on the uphill. Now, they're already, if you notice where they're already landing fairly far down the mat. Okay, so it's not real high. From the dive roll and the front tuck up on the seat, I would have them actually do it to a wedge mat, but lower. Okay, this is kind of a high one. I would use a lower wedge at first, but eventually working up to this height and trying to keep developing that lift and block and the rotation. You can see the block a little better from this angle. So you got lift and rotation going. Okay, and everybody's actually jumping up fairly well. Not bad. A little slow on the punch, but pretty good. Very nice work. Okay. So let's go back. Okay, Marcy, does anybody have any questions?
No questions at this time in the chat room.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. We have one now that just popped up.
Yeah, what is it?
Why do you use a panel mat is the question.
That, I like a slight, for that mat, 2 reasons. The first, though, the practical one is after they get the feel of it, I want them learning to land on a firmer surface. So that wedge mat is kind of a soft one to begin with. But also, there's unfortunately a slight tear in the middle of it. So that covers the tear, and I don't have to worry about anybody tripping and falling on their face. Okay, but I do like a harder surface on it, and that's the main reason I do it. If you notice what I'll do to keep it from sliding, the front edge of the wedge mat, I fold the flap down. It doesn't move as much, all right? But I can go from a soft surface. I've done this on trampoline before with some like back tumbling kids learning back handsprings. They do the handspring on the tumble track, on the trampoline, and then to the tumble track, which is a little stiffer. But the transition to the floor from there is a little scary. So I'll put panel mats on. I'll kill the bounce even more, but I'll make it firmer as well. So it's the same principle. I can use a softer surface, but then I want to work to a firmer surface because that's where they're going to compete on. That's where they're going to learn it. Okay? All right, let's see. Now, this is a little more, I showed you some drills for back layouts. I figured I should show you some drills for front layouts. All right, and this is a drill, actually, I learned about 20 years ago. I was out in Oregon. I did a clinic out in Bend. And, oh God, Norm Reed, a coach from actually Washington State, was doing this with the kids, and he had kids doing front layouts that had never even done them before. So, and it's all based on the good old bounder. So let's take a look at this one. And the whole principle of this that we're looking at right now is when they punch, they're coming up with a slightly rounded body and then opening up at the top. Now, everybody's got their own idea of how layouts are done, and this is mine. I traditionally have always taught a front layout. You do front tuck, and you do front pike, but then you learn a pike open. And then the pike becomes less of a pike open. Remember where we're talking about the layout, the back layout, I said they were at 90 degrees, and then they did it, they were 120, then they opened up and opened up. Same thing on the front layout. Pike open, less of a pike open, and all of a sudden it starts rounding out, it starts smoothing out to a nice transition. Let's go through the bounders again one more time. Okay, here we go. And you can see that, let's see if we can stop one for a second. All right, let's move. Now, let's see. Good, so there's the round shape. There you go. There's the round shape coming around. Okay, and then opening up. Now, in this case, the hand contact opening up, but if I lower this whole unit, which is exactly what Norm did, he actually started with like an 8-inch mat and 2 wedge mats. But then he took one of the wedge mats away, and the kids were just starting to do, you know, they were not touching their hands doing front layouts. All right, so this is a very good progression if you don't like the pike open one. Okay, I'll use both. I steal anything from anybody to use it. Because one of the things, let's go over the front layouts in a second here. Okay, and let's see. I want to try to go, let's go forward acro. And I'm going to go all the way to the end. Hang on a second. Oh, wait a second. All right. My fault. Again, my technological abilities are somewhat lacking. Hang on a sec. I thought I had a whole bunch of good ones here. Here we go. Okay, so if you watch these, let's go back to Sam for a second there. And Sammy's a very powerful kid, but her flexibility is a little off. You see the block coming in for the, remember I was talking about the punch front? There it is. You can see it a little more clearly on this one. Oops. Okay. Shoot. This is not going to do what I expect it to. Ah, you can see a little pike in the hip, but then it's going to open to the arch. Right. Okay. I might as well just play this fast. But you can see what I'm talking about. That pike open later on will round out and become a layout. That was a better one. All right, missed the block a little bit. I like to see her lift her back a little more. That was a pretty good one, actually. Right, I went a little long. She missed her block, but she's thinking of the right thing. If you can picture the fly spring in here too, Claudia's just working on front, so she's working on the pike. But those other guys are ready to go on the layouts. That's, you can see it there a little bit. Can you see the action of a fly spring, of the bounder? Okay, years ago I learned it as a fly spring, so what can I tell you? All right.
John, you got about 5 minutes left in your presentation.
All right, good, perfect. So one thing, I think this gives you a very good idea. Just very quickly, put everything together. Teach good basic forward and backward rolls for either somersault, front or back. I know it sounds silly. You know, handstand progression, handstand, bent arm, tuck forward roll. I'm sorry, that's a basic. It's a recovery drill. No, you will never use it in competition, but it's a safety drill. It's literally a way you're teaching your kids how to fall and protect themselves. If all they knew is know how to do a straight arm forward roll, they're going to hit on a straight arm. They might hit too hard and hurt their elbow. Okay, same thing going back. If I'm going back like this or like this, either way, I got to learn how to move those arms. Here it is. Do I have this flexibility to go back and do a backward roll? A lot of kids don't, believe it or not. They don't have the wrist flexibility. So little things to help with those, all right? Very simple. Different techniques. Like I said, let's go with the front somersault. The pike open for a layout, or the fly spring, the rounder open shape. I use both. Okay, my thought is this. I might think I have the perfect way of teaching a skill. All right, front somersault, back somersault, whatever. All right, and it might work for, say, 8 out of 10 kids. There are 2 kids that are having trouble with it. It's my job as a coach to try to find something that works for them. So the more different drills, the more different aspects and ways of looking at a skill that I can understand and I have in my bag of tricks, so to speak, okay, it's really going to help them a lot, okay, because now I can transfer that in and, you know, like, okay, I'm not getting the pike open, but I understand the fly spring, okay? I don't get the candlestick, but I can understand the pike, and I can get the pike to open up, and now I'm doing a back layout. All right, so don't be afraid of looking at different things. Don't be afraid of changing and experimenting a little bit. Find things that work. But my thought would be stick with the stuff you are very comfortable and you know well, but don't be afraid to take those little different drills and try them for kids that are struggling, okay? Because that's our job. All right, the more we can teach them, the better. The more drills we have, the better we can teach them. All right, so learn as much as you can. You know, everybody asks me why I go to Congress after 50 years, because I'm still learning stuff. I might go to a lecture, I might hear, you know, from there for an hour, all right, and for 50 minutes, it's all stuff I've heard of, I know, and somewhere in there, there's like 5 or 6 minutes where, oh, gee, that's new. I haven't thought of that. And it gives me ideas and it helps me. So, I mean, these things are things we have to keep doing as coaches. I mean, I've been doing it for 50 years, gymnast and coach. Okay. And I'm still learning. I'm still getting ideas, whatever. you have to, if you're going to be a good coach and be current in what you're doing. Okay? So hopefully, again, my apologies. I hope some of these drills will help you. They've helped me over 50 years, so that's all I can tell you. All right, kids have gone, you know, I've been able to go to Brazil, to France. You know, I've done meets. I was a coach at National Sports Festival back when they were running them. So I've been fairly successful with them. So anyway, take care, and I'll be around later. Any questions you have, I'll be there for the round table, or I'll stick around if there are any over here. I'll jump on the chat line, and you guys can ask whatever you would like. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, John. That was a great presentation. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
There's no questions currently in the chat, but like John said, feel free to put them in there, or he'll be back at the round table. And before we move on to the next clinician, which will be Mike Vanim, I just want to make a note that John Min did put in the chat room that he's going to post his full lecture and all the vault videos to his YouTube channel, which is Magma John Min. So go and look for it there later, and he'll have everything posted for you. John, I'm going to stop sharing your screen.
There we go.
There you go.
Took me a minute.
No problem. I was going to do it for you. I'm going to go ahead and mute you, and we are going to move on to Mike Vanim. Mike, if you want to unmute yourself, and I will introduce Mike in the meantime. Mike is the owner of Berks Youth Gymnastics and has been coaching since the early 90s. He also used to be a judge. He has coached and taught everything from tots to national championships. He is also an experienced lecturer and presenter at Congress and regional camps. So, Mike, are you around with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. It's all yours.
All right. I just want to touch on something real quick that John just said about philosophical things about learning and teaching our kids. I've seen too many times in my coaching career where we as coaches get angry when kids can't do skills and when they can't do the drills. That's our responsibility to change what we are doing. If what we're doing isn't working, we need to find another way. It's not the kids that need to find another way or adapt to how we're teaching. It's us that needs to find a way to make them understand and make them learn. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick because that's something that I really, really believe in. I look at bars, and I'm giving a lecture on bars here. I think bars is the most difficult event to learn for women's gymnastics for two main reasons. One, it's unlike all the other events. Floor, and John Min said this too, vault and floor, they're really the same thing. They're just tumbling. And really beam is just tumbling with a little bit of dance that's thrown in there as well. And bars is completely different from those other three events. And especially since March, where I know there are people who are less comfortable with spotting right now too, it's going to even be more difficult. Because in bars, I really believe that you have to be hands-on all the time to keep working on their shapes, to keep working on their positions. So that being said, the drills that I'm showing here are hands-off spotting, but you have to be very vigilant with your gymnasts when they're doing them to make sure that you can continue to correct their positions and their body shapes the best that you can. All right, so I am, let's see here. I'm going to share my screen now. All right, bars without spotting. I think you can see all four of those, yes? Okay, so bars without spotting. We're going to go down to casts first. I'm going to see if I can show this in a different way view. All right, so kips. I just want to go over some requirements that I feel that is really important before we go into the drills that I'm going to have. You have to have the strength and flexibility before you can do any of the skills. So for kips, and this is just a short list, is pike and hamstring flexibility. They should be able to reach down and touch their toes. If they're really upright when they're trying to touch their toes, it's not going to work very well. They have to work on leg lifts, both inclined and vertical. That means like on a wedge, coming down with their hands back behind them and then straight up and down. Pulling down, being able to grab a bar or a bungee and pulling down. working on that good support position that they're in, and that hollow, rolling those hips under at the end. And what I believe is the most important part of learning a kip is the drill of the kip slide. The next two things that we're going to work on here are casts. Again, they have to have that shoulder, that straddle pancake flexibility, legs out, knees backwards, trying to bring that chest down towards the ground, because if they can't put their hands down there and lift their hips up over them, they're not going to get a very good cast either. They have to have that shoulder planche strength where their hands are down and their shoulders are in front of them. Working on shoulder extensions. A lot of people use bungees for that, by grabbing the bungee and standing on the bungee and extending them up over top of your head. Just your handstands and your press handstands. And then on giants, that leg lift, because that's what that kick is, along with that candlestick. Some people call them dragonflies, where you're rolling back in that candlestick position from the ground. Your good, tight, straight, or hollow shape for that downswing. Again, handstands and grip strength. Something I don't have here, but I like for grip strength, I actually have my kids hang on the strap bar without straps and just see if they can hold there and stay there for a minute, just to work on that grip strength a little bit. The next thing I am going to show, let's close this one. And we're going to go to my video then. Can you guys see my video?
No.
No, all right. Stop share for a second, you share. Can we see it now?
Yes.
All right. All right. So this is what I mean by incline leg lifts then. So I think incline leg lifts are important because for kips for two different reasons. One, it gets the gymnast who's not quite as flexible, like my daughter here, to be able to do leg lifts if she's not quite strong enough yet to be able to do them. And also, when she comes up, her next set are a little bit better. When she does them here, that right there is the position that I would like to see a gymnast in when they're doing a kip with their hips out in front of them.
We can see your screen, but if you're playing a video, that's not playing right now.
Oh, okay. So you can't see that. So let's do... You see that?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's my daughter. This position, this is what I call by an incline leg lift. Because her hips are out in front of her here. So if this is the bar that she's holding on to and her hips are out in front of her, here's where I want their hips as their feet come back into the bar to get it. That way you have that pendulum swing to be able to get them back up onto the bar on the other side. So as she's doing her leg lifts, it helps for kids who aren't quite as strong on them. And this is a gymnast who is a little bit stronger. So she can do her leg lift. She still needs to work a little bit on her flexibility. As you can see, it's slightly bent knees as she gets to the top. But again, getting that nice strength coming in from those leg lifts that are there. This is a kip swing drill. So it's a little high, a little low for her. So she's going to struggle on that a little bit. And I have kids here, and some of them you're going to see some of the mistakes that they make and some of the corrections. One of the things that I'm trying to do here is also show you the problem areas that you're going to find. When you're seeing her doing the kip swings, one of the things you're going to see, or that I don't like on this, is she's not quite piked enough. She's a little bit too open here. So she's going to have to bend her knees to pull herself back to the bar. I have another gymnast coming up here. You're going to see a little bit more pike shape. So it allows that swinging action right there to happen to allow herself to pull up onto the bar better and get up onto the top. Here she's going to do a couple in a row once she learns how to get up on top. And again, all this is doing is to help work on that straight arm pulling down on that kip, which is a really struggle with some of the kids. That shoulder strength. Here's a bungee pull coming down. And again, you can do this bungee pull this way if they're laying on the ground with their feet towards where it's tied up and extending for the cast too, but I don't have that on video here. So this is another drill that I like.
Before you keep going, there is a question in the chat
Sure.
room. Somebody wanted to know, I think this was relating to the leg lift drills. What other equipment can you use in place of the bar you showed attached to the bar on the wall?
I would say you can take a board and put a board up against something anywhere that they can hold onto. You have upright bars in the gym, so I think you can see my cursor. So if you have an upright bar like this, stack 2 boards next to it and just have them hold on to the bar that way or sideways. Or you can take a trapezoid or 2 trapezoids and put a bar on it and then put it up next to the bar too if you don't have a stall bar in the gym as well. And then you have an incline coming down like this, and it can be up underneath the bar as well.
Great, thank you.
So this is a good drill where they really have to kind of work on getting those hands and shift them and get that pressure coming down on top of the bar as they're bouncing up. It's also a drill you don't really have to spot very well. Now you're going to see some kids like her struggling a little bit with that. So 2 things that you can do. You can lower the bar a little bit till she gets stronger. You can raise the mats over here so that she can get a little bit easier push on there. If she's not getting, this one's going to struggle a lot. And that stuff like that will happen as they're learning. So you can lower the bar or raise the surface that they're bouncing off of to try to get back up onto the bar. For my daughter, you can see I dropped the bar a little bit and she's struggling back up to still get up there. And then she figured it out the second time up and got up there with a little bit straighter arms and did this. While we were filming that day, by the way, that was the day she got her first kit. All right. This is a drill that I really like in terms of getting the feet up into the bar. So I have a noodle set up on 2 foam blocks. If you don't have foam blocks, you can use panel mats. You can use whatever else you want here like this. As they glide out, they're going to try to take that noodle and kick it back up over top of the bar. So this is trying to get their feet back faster into that bar a little bit and try to get them closer and quickness back up over top of that bar. So by showing them and then getting those feet back faster, let me get a good one. She struggled a little bit on that one. As she's coming back, her hips are still out here in front of the bar instead of directly underneath. And when her hips are out in front of the bar, now she has a little bit of a pendulum swing coming back in to try to make that cast happen a little bit better. Again, her hips, when I didn't stop at the right time, but her hips got back up over top of that bar a little bit faster. That was a really nice one. And this is a nice one as well too. She gets her toes back in there finally and gets into that nice, be able to cast a little bit better and get those toes back in fast. Because one of the things that I found is kids can do that glide swing and they pull the toes back in, but they don't have any swing coming in. It's because their toes are coming up way too slow, coming back up into the bar. So getting that fast, quick leg lift is a really important one. Here I have a bungee set up. You can use any kind of TheraBand or bungee. This one happened to slip off. I like it around their waist, like if they were going to have a belt on them. And this is working on that kip sliding action. Being able to just slide their toes up and down. They figure out where it is. Sometimes it's going to be more comfortable. So she's working on doing that kip slide. And this is that really important for that second half and that finishing of that kip so the feet don't drop away from that bar as they're doing that kip. They want to keep sliding their toes up and down that bar. And you can use different thicknesses of bands. So here's a purple one. It's going to be a little bit, for me, it's a little bit thicker than the red one that I had for my little itty bitty ones. That's a red bungee, so it's going to be a little bit harder. So they can do their kip slides coming up. And this helps so that you as a coach don't have to sit there and spot. Here's a nice kip drill so they can work again on that shift and lean over the top. Sliding that bar down, trying to finish and push themselves back up onto the top. And you can always put something in front, like you saw her feet when she did that. We're going to do that one more time. And as she did that, as she finished up, you can see when she finishes this next one that her feet finish out in front of her. And you really want to try to get those feet to finish out in front because that's how they're going to be able to cast into the next skill when they're coming out of that kick. But again, when you're doing stuff like this, you really have to be on top of them, making sure that their form is a little bit better, thinking about their good body shapes. Oh, that one got drugged in there a little bit later. All right, some more kip slides. All right, Here's another kip drill. When you're extended, because you want your body nice and extended off the end. And there's two things that I like about this drill, because you can do it here, or if you put the feet on the edge of the mat right here, or if you happen to have a set of parallel bars, you can set it up that way too, so they can do those stem rises or single leg kips. But here, they're going through that extension here, and then going to that kipping action. And if they don't make it, they can push themselves up right at the end and keep finishing and keep working on that strength on those shoulders. Because a lot of these kids really don't have that shoulder strength when they're trying to learn how to do a kip, to finish these kips that are coming up. And they can keep working on that shift to get up and over the top. So again, this is a fast leg lift. And if they do that leg lift fast, if you notice here, as she lifted up her toes because they came up a little bit slow, her hips start rolling back a little bit. So she's going to have a hard time sliding up on the top because her hips, her toes come up really, really slowly coming up onto there. So her hips are already back underneath the bar by the time that she finishes that leg lift. If their leg lift is a little bit faster, they have a little bit more chance to make it. Her toes are getting up there and then start slight bend, but then her hips are a little bit farther away, so she has a little bit more swing coming into that kipping action. Some of my older kids and some of my golds and platinums who do this as well, they can make that kip from that position there. These guys are just learning kips. Here we're going to move on to cast handstands now. So when you're doing a cast handstand, you really have to work on your shoulder strength. So here she's rolling her shoulders backwards and rolling them back over the bar. And if they can't lean over the bar and get their shoulders over top of the bar, they're never going to make it to the handstand. They're never going to get that cast going up in the air. So we're just working on rolling back and forth. I told her to point her toes. She got one of them toes pointed. And then working on that pike. So you can just breaking it down a little farther. We skipped one step here. Just going up to that pike shape, keeping them back on the bar, and then go back to that planche roll again. And then go back up to that pike again. Here you see she lifts off one foot than the other because it's kind of like she's trying to kick up into the handstand. That was a little bit better, a little bit more straddle pressing action into it. So just piking up like this. And again, she's trying to kick up because that's how they get the handstand. So, and then thinking of it more, a little bit more as a press each and every single time. And then they can think of it as that press coming up, really shoulders over the bar, then the hips have to come over the top first, and they figure out where that balance is. This is a drill. I only have one, so if you want to see it again, let me know. I like this drill because it shows that compression part that they're going to be in when they're trying to cast, but it really emphasizes that explosive second half, that shoulder push to open it up out of the top. Sometimes what I'll have kids do is go from here, try to go up to that handstand, and then back against the wedge. Go back up to the handstand and then back against the wedge just to finish on that second half of that handstand. Let's see if we can get one more time. So she leans here and then she goes press and gets that really sharp extension at the end. For this, I just got a cargo strap, make 2 loops at the end, and this works in that press handstand shape for those kids that are struggling on these press handstands. These are some of my silvers and golds that are working on that straddle press handstand, just working on that shaping, getting those hips up over the top. Sometimes they're going to fall down like this. Now, Gracie here, she is not going to make it up onto the top. Julie over there did. Over here, I have it a little higher right now. It's on 2 blocks instead of being on the ground. As they get more and more comfortable with this and better at this, I take these 2 panel mats instead and put like 2 panel mats or a spotting block underneath. So this bar becomes a little bit higher. So they really have to work on leaning their shoulders over a little bit and getting their hips up a little bit higher before they can get up onto it. If you don't have a bar or a bar pad like this, you can always do the same drill up against a wall because you don't want their feet going backwards. You want them going up into the air to come up into it. So as she's straddling up, you want her feet, even if this is a wall here, you could use this against a wall and then push up against that wall as well too. And again, as they get better, for those two kids, I would have made it going up onto that mat here. All right. This is a drill when they're starting to get a little bit stronger with it. And I actually start with this without the kip. And I do the same type of casting action for them. And this is so that they aren't afraid of casting over, even though they could turn out like a beam dismount. A lot of kids seem to not remember that when they get up there. So we're working on kips and a cast and trying to connect that cast together. I have two blocks where a lot of spotting blocks set up there, and they're casting, and I'm sliding that mat in so they're not worried about leaning those shoulders over at the end of these glide kips. Now there's a little bit labor intensive on my part moving that mat in and out, and you really have to make sure that you're going to be able to get that mat in, because if you don't get that mat in and they go over the top, they're landing on the ground on the other side, especially if they come over a little bit faster like that. And again, just working on getting those shoulders over. And if you notice, as they're trying to lean and get those shoulders over, she's really getting these shoulders leaned over that bar. And she's not afraid of casting over because she knows she's landing on a soft mat. And I think especially with Xcel gymnasts, they have a big, big fear of bars. Depending upon the program you're in, sometimes kids are in Xcel because they haven't learned bars or they didn't learn bars at all. Sometimes kids are in Xcel for other reasons too, or they just came up through that program. I have a lot of kids that are in Xcel because they were in my JO program and decided that bars was not their strong suit, so they went to Xcel. I don't train them any differently, so they're still doing the same stuff. But trying to lean and get the shoulders over top of that bar, and again, leaning those shoulders over the top of the bar, then we're going to those pressing things. And again, she can just fall over. She doesn't have to worry about turning and get over the top. Just one quick clear hip drill. I'll go back to why she did that completely wrong. If you notice, she leaned correct, absolutely over top of the bar, put her shoulders over top of the bar before she went into here. There is no way you can clear hip with your shoulders on that side of the bar. Your shoulders have to drop behind the bar when you're doing this drill. So I would actually like them not to jump forward at all, keeping the shoulders here behind the bar and just trying to get their hips up underneath of it. And again, this is these kids' first day trying to learn these clear hip actions and just trying to get up off that bar. I really think this one's nice. Really awesome, strong drop on that one. And again, for our first day doing that, I'm really working on focusing on that drop there. Moving on to some giants here and some handstand shapes. I have the foam roller here slightly above her knees. It's a lot easier here than when it goes down below the knees. I mean, way, way easier. And we're trying to work on a good hollow shape. She's going to strengthen out. You can see here she's squeezed tight. She's got a relatively straight body extension. I probably would like to see a little bit straighter. But she's working on that tension and pushing that bar down a little bit here so that when we're working on that giant, we're working on a good, nice, tight body shapes. This also, being able to feel that arch through the bottom a little bit and then pulling back up into that hollow as we're coming up over top of the giants. These are just really good drills for tap swings as well. If a gymnast is not strong enough to do this here, take this foam roller and move it up higher. Some kids have to start with it at their hips. Other kids, as they get stronger, they can move this foam roller down below their knees. Once you get to that knee point though, the difference between having the foam roller here and having the foam roller here is almost night and day in terms of the amount of strength that they have to have. She can't do that with her knees back there. They can also try to roll it out, and nice and slowly, she's going to move down below her knees though to hold it. So she has it below her knees. She's a little bit stronger. Now it's back up on the thighs. And just working on that shape, going up and down, and really trying to push that shape to hold that downswing and pushing that tension out in that giant shape that she's coming down through. Here's another one. I think John did something like this. John Min did something like this for his kids for the body tension, but he used a slider. I'm using the same cargo straps I use for the cast handstand drill. And they're going to work on that same extension, pushing out as far as they can. If you notice, the weak part is going to be right here at that lower back. She's a little bit pikey, but that weak part is going to be that lower back. When they fall, it's going to start at that lower back, and that lower back is what's going to give out first. and that's where they're going to fall down from. Most of this video here, by the way, was shot pre-quarantine, which is why you see all those kids nice standing next to each other. Again, extending all the way out. And if they do it correctly, sometimes they're going to fall because they're pushing their limits as to how far they can go. Here's the next part on my giant drills. Just working on trying to pull over, getting those toes coming over nice and fast. I don't know why some of them are landing on their knees. Maybe they just didn't get their toes over fast enough. Going from that hollow shape, pulling back over, and trying to get back over. If you can put this bar against a mat, if you notice, I'm going to show you that one more time. If you can put that bar up against a mat, that's better, because you'll notice that bar is wiggling and wobbling a little bit. And when they're pushing from here, if that bar is not up against something, it's going to slide out from underneath of them. So if you can find some way to anchor that bar in there, or even if you tie it back against a post or something like that so it doesn't move away, that'll be better. Otherwise, that bar is going to slide out from underneath of them. Trying to save you guys a headache that I had to learn the hard way. And doing that pulling over shape there. Because as they're coming up, that shape, well, not this one. This one's a little bit pikey. You're going to see some kids just pike over the top. Here we're working on trying to swing down. As you can see, she's a little bit afraid of that. She's bending her elbows. This is what I call the small hill. We just work on trying to jump and extend. Some of the kids are a little bit afraid of just pushing out. You'll see them starting to get a little bit better and pushing out, not afraid of that fall. And I like doing this drill starting on an incline because they're not so afraid to really try to stretch out or jump up into that fall. They're going to come down a little archy sometimes. Try to make sure you try to keep telling them to keep that belly button pulled up, not let their belly button hit the mat. Okay, a little bit archy coming down. You're going to find a lot of kids coming down archy just because they're not holding that shape. And this is when I would go back to that foam roller and Forrester bar drill. And you don't have to use a Forrester bar. You can use any bar you want to. But just holding that hollow body shape, coming down, trying to land nice and straight and tight coming down. And just start that pushing action, swinging on that bar. So even if they're just doing cast swing to flyaway, cast swing to giants, etc. Here's where we're starting to add two of those drills together. We did that pull over earlier, and we have that wedge coming down. So if she can pull, this is shot about 2 years ago from my daughter. She's trying to pull that over and stretch and try to fall out a little bit farther out like that. Here's one of my other gymnasts, same idea, pushing out and then going into that shape. Now I go to the big hill. Takes a while for me to stack it up. I steal all the mats in the gym. My floor vault coaches aren't happy when they're on vault because I stole all their mats, but sometimes I just have to do it. So they're doing the same action, and you can see a lot of kids that are afraid, pulling their toes straight into the bar right away. And part of that's fear. Part of that is their shoulder strength. They're not able to push out and push out of it fast enough. But what we're trying to do, and up here, you can work on nice early pirouettes if you want to, getting nice and strong. That's how they get into it. They cartwheel up and then pull over. So they're just trying to pull over. And ideally, you're going to try to stay nice and flat coming over the top. So really working on a straight arm. They can work on an early turn, even though some of them aren't working on pirouettes yet. And I always do this way for them. Instead of just pulling right away, I like to have them bounce. Kind of pull up into that shape, so it reminds them of the shape that they're going to be in, and then they drop their toes and pull over in one quick, fast action. So lifting up and then down and up over the top, and then trying to start that swing down. Kids find this a very safe drill once they get used to it, because even if they peel at the bottom of it, all they're doing is running into nice, soft, squishy mats. If you remember her first one that she did, that wasn't very good. Now this kid who just went, and I'm going to show you her one more time because I'm going to show you her later. She was absolutely terrified of doing this drill. Okay, so her first time coming over looked more like a pullover shape coming in. And when you see her at the end, I think she's the last one I have going. You're going to see just in one day the transition that she went from that pullover shape to what she's doing over here now. And as the kids start getting over to pulling over a little bit strong, a little bit more aggressive, they start feeling that handstand shape and coming down from that handstand, going into that mat. Nice extension coming out on the top there. And any way that you can find them to get up over higher, the higher that that wedge is up here for them, or if you can have a wall that's built up even higher, it's even better, because then they don't have to kick over and pull over so hard. They can get back into that handstand shape and get that stretch coming out a little bit sooner, going into that swing coming down. Now here she is again at the end. If you remember her first one, she pulled right over back into the mat. I think she does 2 of them here. I think she misses the first one. Comes back down. And again, it's safe as long as she keeps those arms nice and straight. And that is so much better of a swing. And that was all in one day from what she did earlier, just pulling her toes over and not making it, and just making that pull over shape. And now she's not afraid to get that swing coming down, because she knows that even if she hits that bottom there, that she's not going to be coming off that bar. You can start front giant falls with them as well, doing this. And you can do the same thing on that lower wedge as well, doing that front giant falls as well. And they just kick up. And again, if they come off that bar at the bottom of this swing, all they're going to do is hit, and they're going to fall down onto their feet, even if they peeled off that bar. I have two other.
5 minutes left for your presentation.
I have 2. Can you see this one or not? Good.
Yes.
Okay. So this is another glide drill coming out. If you have a roller like this, or if you have a wheel, if you don't have a wheel, you can do a slider. Just sliding out that back and forth, just feeling that, and then at the end trying to lift those toes up and hold them to the bar. I've also done this off of the edge. If you move that panel mat in a little bit closer, feeling that slider come off. Once that slider falls off the edge, they lift their toes back up into the bar. They try to hold them up there. All right. Okay. And I'm going to do 2 flyweight drills real quick here for you. I use a nice stack mat. And she's swinging. Again, she was like 4 at this time, but she really enjoyed this drill because she saw the older kids doing it. And just a nice soft squishy mat, just have them land and fall down until they can feel that nice good shape. When I have kids do this, I really want them looking for their toes as they land. So as they land, trying to look for those toes. Notice she looked for those toes when she was letting go. Again, she was, I think she was 4.5 when she did this drill here. And then here's just one kid when they're finally learning a flyway in the beginning, just from a tap swing. Or maybe it was from a cast. But she's really trying to look for her toes. And when she's letting go, I want them seeing those toes as they're letting go. So that they're holding that shape, they're not throwing that head back. The biggest problem I see when kids are doing flyways, when they throw that head back, that's what's going to cause the shoulders to close. That's what causes them to come into the bar and hit that bar. So they've got to look at those toes, because when your head's looking up, you're going to go higher. When your head goes out early, they're going to let go of the bar either early, or they're going to pull in going into those flyways. So those are some of my drills, especially non-spotted drills for bars. But again, you've got to go back to those shaping all the time. And if they don't have that shape, you've got to go back and find a drill somehow to get that shape correctly. If they're doing kips with bent legs, go back to more leg lifts. I tell my kids that don't have straight leg lift or straight leg kips, they need to do 30 extra leg lifts every day that they're on bars, whether I assign it to them or not. That's just something they have to do. Some of them do it, some of them don't. I can't make them do it, really, because then you have to yell and scream, and that's not what I want to do anymore when I'm coaching. So, are there any other questions?
There's no questions in the chat room right now, but if anybody has any, feel free to